Hola, and welcome to our worksheet. We're going to work through this together. This is an example where we are manufacturing coffee. We're roasting coffee beans. That's our process, and we are going to sell them. All right. So before we get started, please download the worksheet. You can either follow the link and grab it from the Google Drive, or you can just open the attachment. Either way is totally fine. But you are going to want to follow along with me. If you just watch the video and listen to me, you're not going to get much out of this. But if you do it along with me, I think you're going to find that you pick it up pretty quick. We have an overview page plus 5 periods. So those will each be separate videos. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start moving costs through the manufacturing process, from raw materials to work in process, finished goods. And we're going to do that over 5 different periods, which is going to really help reinforce the knowledge. You're going to have something very similar to this, but with a different set of assumptions and a different business for your homework. So you're really going to want to get it down here. All right, so let's jump in, and we're going to start by making me small. Okay. So we're going to start with the overview page, and the overview page is going to allow us to identify what our cost per batch. We're going to be doing this by batch. What is our cost per batch in each phase of the process? Raw materials, WIP, and finished goods. And then we're going to also calculate our gross profit and our margin. Okay, so let's look at our assumptions. So we are coffee roasters. Raw beans cost us $10 a pound. One batch is 10 pounds, and we are going to be focusing on batches here. Roasting one batch of coffee beans requires 2 hours of direct labor. Okay, that could be one person for 2 hours. That could be 4 people for half an hour each. Doesn't matter because they are all paid the same thing, $25 an hour. It'll be 2 hours of direct labor, $25 an hour. Our factory overhead is applied at a rate of 150% of direct labor dollars. That means however many direct labor dollars go into a batch, that's how much factory overhead we will apply per batch times 150, or times 1.5 or 150%. Right. Direct labor is added at the beginning of the process. We talked about that, and we'll add the factory overhead at the end. Now, that may not be the case. It could be all over the place, right? But for our purposes, we're going to stay real consistent on that because I want you to learn the concepts, and this is going to be the easiest way to do it. Then we're going to sell our roasted coffee for $40 a pound. So this is very expensive shishi coffee. All right, so let's start with raw materials. Our cost per raw material batch. So one batch of raw materials. So we know that coffee costs $10 a pound times there are 10 pounds in one batch. So $100 for one batch of raw materials. Okay, for direct labor and factory overhead, I'm going to put 0 because we're talking about raw materials, right? What's in our pantry? What's in our raw materials storeroom? At this point, we haven't introduced the raw materials to the manufacturing process, so we haven't incurred any direct labor or factory overhead yet because it's just sitting in a pantry. Okay. Now, when we get to work in process, that's going to change. So our direct materials, we said per batch are $100. Our direct labor per batch is 2 hours times $25 an hour. All right, our factory overhead is going to be 0 because in work in process, we introduce raw materials and then we immediately add our direct labor, but we don't add our factory overhead until the product is done. Once we add factory overhead, it's finished, and now it's no longer sitting in WIP. It's over in finished goods. So we're going to do 0, and then we're going to add this up. Okay. So when we say the cost of one WIP batch is $150, that includes only the direct materials and the direct labor. And that is the cost per batch for our beginning inventory and for our ending inventory. Okay. And that's really the only 2 places we apply this cost per batch for WIP is in our beginning inventory and our ending inventory. All right. Now finished goods. Oh, look, I've already added everything. So our raw materials are 100, our direct labor is 50, and our factory overhead is 75. So let me show you how I got that. So I know my direct labor per batch is 50 times 150% or 1.5, and that gives me 75. So a cost per finished batch, our cost of goods manufactured and everything in our finished goods inventory is $225. Okay, so that's what it costs to produce one batch. All right, now let's go look at our gross profit and our margin. So our sales price per pound, now look at this. I'm no longer talking about batches. Now I've gone back to pound because I'm going to produce in batches because that's more efficient for me, but I'm going to sell in pounds because my customers may not want to buy 10 pounds at a time. They may only want to buy 1 pound at a time. So I can't force this batch concept on my customers. This is just for me during production. All right, so our sales price per pound is $40. Our cost per pound is our cost per finished batch divided by 10 because there are 10 pounds in every batch. So it's $22.50. To get the gross profit, I'm going to take my sales and subtract cost of goods sold. So my profit is $17.50 per pound. My gross profit percentage or gross margin is my gross profit divided by sales, and it's going to be 43.75%. Okay, so now I know what it's costing me or what costs I should have invested at each stage in the process. I also know when I get to the end of each period what my margin should be because, again, I'm not changing any assumptions. So my total sales and my total cost of goods sold may change, but that margin will stay the same because my cost per pound won't change and my cost of goods sold per pound will not change. Okay, so we're going to be able to use all of this information as check figures. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish this video, and then we're going to start a new one to go over period 1 of moving costs through our manufacturing facility. All right, see you then.